Hey, welcome to Bears Better tonight. My name is Bernard Muhammad. Tonight I got two special guests, man. I get excited. Matter of fact, both of these my little brothers, man. You know, not little brother as far as mothers, but brothers from a different mother. But man, little brothers as far as friendship. I got my brother here, Cristen Jones, and I got my boy Damien Hampton, also my frat brother. Man, what's going on tonight?
An opportunity to talk some football and learn from Cristen here.
Hey, you know what? These guys came from two powerhouse. They came from a powerhouse football program. Julian High School. Both of them was quarterbacks. Both of them are currently coaching. Right? Dehan, where you coaching at? What school you coaching at?
Morgan Park High School.
Morgan Park. Okay. And Cristen, where you coaching at?
Evanston Township.
Okay. Yeah, so hey, both of these guys, man, they love football. Like I love football, man. Look, I get excited just talking football all year round. So hey, us little football addicts, man. It's just something that we love doing. So tonight we're gonna do a little football one-on-one. We're gonna go over some offensive concepts, and we're gonna go from it from two quarterbacks' point of view, who actually are coaches as well. So hey, let's start off with something simple, man. Because when I played football in the 80s, as far as high school, the run schemes were simple, right? We ran more of like I would say probably like a gap run concept where we just, they gave us a gap, and that's the way we ran. And the blockers, basically what they did was they tried to push the defensive players away from that gap.
Mm-hmm.
Then once you got through that gap, hey, it was on you on what yards you made. So, hey, let's start with that. It's because now you have gap runs and you have zone runs.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of times we hear about zone runs, and there's a little difference in zone running.
Yeah.
And I know this year myself, I started questioning a few times of why was Montgomery running into his linemen down the field. Hey, well, I'm gonna turn it over to y'all. Let y'all explain what's going on.
Go ahead, big bro.
Well, I'm gonna keep it. I'll let Cristen dive and get deep with you guys. But we talk about just run game, and it's interesting, Bernard, that you mentioned the what things that you ran when you were in high school, the gap scheme. So we have that gap scheme, which is just your gap runs, like a power or a counter. Those are your counter trades. Those are gap runs, and we have our zone runs. Today in football, I'm not gonna say things change, but I think the people change. When I say people, I mean just personnel and position. We don't have those linemen who are. Let's look at some NFL size. The 6'5", 350 plus linemen who can block down and kick out. A lot of people, especially at collegiate level as well, they want linemen that can get out and move. So we see a lot of those zone runs and your inside zones, your outside zones. I know we talked about backs. I can't remember if we were off air or on air, but you mentioned our former running back, David Montgomery, and a guy who a lot of people question his vision. But the reality is it takes reps. We have those gap schemes. You can excuse my dog, but you have those gap schemes where you can tell a running back, hey, run there. The hole is going to be there. As soon as that lineman block down or someone pull and kick out, that's where you're running, right off his butt. Today, a lot of these zone schemes, coaches are saying, you know what, back, you are athletic, you're talent. I want you to just read those zone blocks. So it's taking steps and linemen working together. I want to break that down, but linemen working together, taking steps together, and just telling the running back, hey, it's what you see, just take it. Bang it, bend it, or bounce it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, you want to add something to that, Cristen?
Yeah. So Hamp, big bro, he covered most of the gap. Let's talk about the zone. So a lot of, depending on the offensive coordinator or the system of zone read, the running back is supposed to take 3 steps towards the outside shoulder of the tight end of the play side. So if he can feel like he can get 3 3 steps outside of that shoulder, that means that defensive end has been reached. He can get out. If he can't get out of that, it's now time for him to stretch it as far as he can and then cut back inside. So the play call may be a 28 stretch, but it may not end there. It can be inside the 26. Sometimes it can be 24. And what we mean by it, that's the gap stretch responsibility. So you got the 2, the 4, 6, 8. So 2 inside the center and the guard, 4 outside the right shoulder or the right shoulder or left shoulder, the left guard, right shoulder. That's the 4 hole in between the tackle and the guard. So when we run these zones, these wide zones, the running back has to take 3 steps towards that tight end's right shoulder. And if that tight end does his job, getting that guy reached, he can get outside of it. If he can't, you got to cut it back in. Mm-hmm.
So from listening to both of y'all, what y'all said, it looked like one of the primary difference between a zone ring and a gap. A zone run and gap based running scheme is the lineman's responsibility has changed. And where Hamp talked about, guys are more fast and athletic. So it sounds like those linemen, their job is not done once they just block that first guy. It sounds like they're getting up the field and blocking whoever's out there, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it calls for that running back to have vision once he get out there, because he has to know that there's linemen could be coming across to block somebody, right? And he has to find that zone he's going to run through. Versus, like I said, primarily when I was a running back, we just ran through that gap, and that was it, right? And we broke it outside, or we juke somebody, and you know what I'm saying? You know, we ain't worried about no linemen coming up the field.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, Hamp. It does seem like it take repetition, and I'm not familiar as far as, you know, it's not the criticism of Dave Montgomery. It was just something I observed this year that I noticed up the field. He ran into his linemen often. I mean, it wasn't like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, just me being a running back, used to be a running back, I study running back. So I noticed that. I'm like, why is he running into his linemen up the field? So I'm like, okay, because he's going to take some repetition to run through that. Hey, so what's the difference between the inside zone run and the outside zone run?
Yeah, Cristen, he talked about that outside zone run. It's really just an aiming point. So instead of a lineman, so zone, it's a lot of combination blocks. So if I have a center and a guard, or a guard and a tackle, they're double teaming the first line, which is defensive lineman. So their hands are on that first line, but their eyes are on the second level. The second level is the linebacker. So your hands on that first level, eyes on second level, reading that linebacker. If the linebacker I don't want to complicate this. If there's a guard and a tackle combination blocking, and the linebacker goes to the right, and we're running to the right, that tackle would come off the first level and go to the linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
If the linebacker, for whatever reason, shoot to the left, the tackle would take over that first level by himself, and the guard will go get the linebacker. So that's your inside zone. It's really just steps, and some coaches, they coach it different. You take a 45-degree angle and your aiming point, but it has to do with aiming point. Like Cristen said, outside zone, I'm trying to get to the outside, but if a back, they have the autonomy to stick their foot in the ground if they see something open and get up the field. I think that's why a lot of coaches are going just to zone now. And I mentioned it. It gives that our lineman the freedom to say, you know what, I'm never wrong. If that defensive player go that way, I'm going to take them that way. And it's on that running back to make that read and the decision to bounce it outside or to stick the foot in the ground and get up the field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, who was primarily, you could say, maybe started this like zone? I don't know. I kind of think it was Shanahan. Was it Shanahan?
Cristen got this. Yeah, Cristen got this. This is
Okay.
That was Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan. Okay.
Yeah. So like Hamp said, to go back to that earlier when he was talking about the the size of the lineman. You asking the lineman to, for instance, block a 3 technique, and say we run a gap scheme, and you asking the lineman to block a 3 technique, and we run a 24 power. You are now asking this lineman to literally try to block a 3 technique. You know how hard that is? That is extremely hard. And you can't always do a double team. So if you try to double team it, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose men up front. That's the best way I can contain it. You want to have a hat on a hat. So if you double team that, you're losing. You're not gonna, instead of it being like a 5-yard run, a 6-yard, you probably got like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So what the zone does is, now if it's a 3 technique, it's still harder for that guard to reach him because it's not easy. But if you can get his momentum going to the left or to the right, now you have the linebackers. They are in some way, they have to be really disciplined to keep that gap integrity that they have. They can over pursue. And now that guard or that tackle, that center, doesn't necessarily have to reach. So like, I can give you an instance. If you got like the Bears front, you got an even front, 4 down front. You got a 3 technique, you got a 2 technique. Let's say you run a 28 stretch to the right. All right. That left guard, if that center, now how they teach it, it's just a simple way. If you got a guy in front of you, if there's no guy in front of you, you second level. That center can block back. And now if he can't get to that outside, to that 8 hole, he now has a gap to now get into the next level. And at that point, it's not a gap thing. It's just I'm stretching as hard as I can and I get back out.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I ain't trying to confuse y'all. Yeah.
Man, I like to say what's up to Mo Man and Mark Chin. You're looking at football 1-on-1 on Bears Banner tonight, where we're going over offensive concept, we're going over passing concepts and running concepts. I want to move on, but I want to stay on the running game before we go to the passing game, because I know the running game is a little bit more simplistic than the passing game. Y'all gonna need a little time on the passing concepts. But hey, I'm just looking at my notes here. Okay, what is a zone read? I mean, what is a zone read?
Go ahead, big bro.
Yeah. Zone read. So what? And I'm. This is an insider why my face lit up and changed. The Black community, we are extremely talented and athletic, and we have always been. I'm sorry. Yes. But downstairs. We have always been athletic, and we have always been great quarterbacks. We have, guys who have excelled in college, got to the NFL, and just didn't make it for whatever reason. And a lot of it had to do with play calling and tailoring offense towards that quarterback skill set. Zone read is simply adding football is all math. Math. And offense, as an offensive mind, you always want to be in a position where you're right. And zone read is just adding another runner to the mix that you're outnumbering the defense. So it gives the quarterback to read. Most people, when they read, quarterbacks are reading a lot of different levels now. But on a basic level, a zone read, you're reading the end man on the line of scrimmage. Most of the time, it's a defensive end. So if I'm running a zone to the right with my running back, the quarterback is opening up in shotgun, which is another a trendsetter, I would call it here. A lot of people are going in the shotgun, and the reason being, I know a lot of people say they want to get quarterbacks under center, but the reason to get back in the gun is that you add another runner for the defense to prepare for, and that quarterback is turning opposite of the play. So if it's a zone right, the running back is going right, the quarterback is looking backside to the left, end man on the line of scrimmage. And if the end crashed down, the quarterback is simply pulling the ball and replacing, running the opposite direction. There's a lot of different variations of zone read, but for the most, the gist is I'm reading a man. If he crashes, it's old and it's nothing new. It's nothing new. I know our football guys who play football for a long time. This is just triple option football. This is your triple option without the pitch guy. Well, some people added a screen, which will be the modern day triple option, but they're just running our triple option from the shotgun. But I'm reading defensive end crash. I pull a ball, attack, and that's all that's happening.
Okay, yeah, one of the Facebook users actually made a suggestion about a chalkboard. We definitely, I'm trying to figure out how to bring in a chalkboard. I know I can add another device, and I got to figure out how to do this, and it's definitely it's going to take us to the next level, but it is a way. I'm going to have to probably bring in my other laptop, plug it in as a separate device, and so as y'all talking, we could probably pull up plays and bring it in. Hey, what's up, guy? How's it going?
I'm here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, man, you black and you back.
Hey, man, it's the only way I can be, man.
Yeah. Hey, Cristen, Ham. When we was talking about zone reads, when I played, ours was more like a triple option, or maybe I guess you would call it a speed. What is it, like a speed zone? What's the actual terminology for speed option? We might have ran more like a triple option or a speed option, where the quarterback. Well, I'm gonna let y'all here to explain. So, man, what is a speed option? I'm not here to explain. What's a speed option, Cristen?
It's a speed option is what basically the zone read is today. It's just the blocking scheme is different. So, like, you have the variation of now the zone read, how everything is going. We stretching and going to the sideline. Whereas speed option is the blocking is just different. It's no triple option. It's just a quarterback and a running back. You get the ball from either gun or on the center, and you got one read. It's either the end that can load it, which means that tackle will block the end, and then your next read is the second level, that linebacker, first man that appears, and you have the pitch. Now, what like Hamp was explaining, the zone read it's going more to the sideline, so you're going east and west. So now you're getting that flow going, and if that defensive end decides to pick and choose, and he picks like, hey, I'm going to take the run away, quarterback go. If he's like, hey, I'm going to take the quarterback away, running back is gone. And now you've added a dimension to where now it's you, like the defense is out man. So like you see it happening so many times in college of how like defensive ends now try to play both the quarterback and the running back. Yeah. You gotta be a heck of a dude to be able to do that. You gotta be that dude to be able to do that because it's not easy.
Okay. So hey, let's did you want to add anything to that? Guy, do you have anything you say before we move to the next one?
No, not really, man. These are the professionals here, man. I'm just sitting back sucking it all in, man.
Oh, sorry. I wish.
Yeah, I just want to type this here right quick. Let's go to a run pass option. What is that? What is an RPO and when did it come about, if y'all know?
Yeah. Chris, do you want to start or?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm right, but I feel like Tim Tebow was one of the ones where it got like famous. I don't know who really started off, but I know like because he was a decent thrower in college, like he went like that. But I noticed that's where like he was one of the first ones I seen do it like at a high level and be good at it. And all that is just a added dimension. So different schools and different programs run it different. Hamp might run it different at his school, but like I know at my school, sometimes if we get like we feel like we have like we might go trips to the right, trips to the left. All right. Or we might have a running back in a sniffer position. If we run into the opposite way, like Hamp said, and we got that zone read concept going to the opposite way, we'll run backside of the RPO. It's not necessarily that's how we do it. We run a screen game to the opposite side. Sometimes you might tag something to the front side of it too. So you might have like inside zone, outside zone, and you might tag front side like slant, out route. It just depends on what you see and you putting that in the quarterback's hand. But that's pretty much what RPO is run pass option. So you can give it or you can throw it. It just depends. But I know how we run it. We'll run screen game to opposite, and we can have it where we'll have it from the first wide receiver. So 1, 2, and 3, he'll be the guy who we're throwing that screen to. And basically what he's doing is he's taking a step back and he's keeping his eyes to the quarterback. So you'll see him like moving this direction, if that makes sense. And we see that, hey, that end crashes down, we'll pull it and throw it. Or sometimes if we get an alignment, we see that safety might be about 7 yards deep, whoever's covering him, we'll just go ahead and say, hey, you go ahead and give it to him. Now we got blockers and we can get at least about 6 or 7 yards off of that. That's how we run our RPO game.
Mark, like Mark said, Nebraska, Turner Gill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, now you just made a good point, Cristen, that I want to ask Hamp about. Okay, let's go backwards. We were talking about the zone runs, right? And the quarterback reading, Hamp said at the end. In an RPO, who is the quarterback reading? Now, I know it's not the end because it's a pass option, right? So who is the quarterback reading to determine if he's going to pull the ball out?
Yeah. So you have pre and post. So pre-snap, it's a numbers game. So if I have a defense outnumbered on either side of the field, my pre-snap read is, Cristen talked about screen. I want to get the ball out there as quick as possible. Now, post-snap RPO, meaning once the ball is snapped, the quarterback gets the ball, and I'm running the run play, but my eyes, we have some teams out here reading the second level, which is your linebackers, sometimes a safety that's in the box. Then we have people reading third level, which is a safety, which is very hard to do. So they're literally putting the ball in the running backs, put in that mesh point, and with their eyes on, let's say, a linebacker. And they're saying, in the quarterback read, if that linebacker take a step forward to stop the run, I'm pulling the ball out and I'm throwing the ball to whatever route combination or concept that is behind that. Now, I know you asked the question, where did it originate? And I'm going to go out and fact check it myself. But if we go back I heard, I can't remember where I heard, seen them, they talked about this a lot. But Brett Favre used to get to the line of scrimmage, and if he can hit the slant route, it can be a run play on. He would just get the ball and throw the slant, and no one knew that that he was throwing a slant, but him and a receiver. That's a version of RPO, and that's years ago.
Yeah,
I heard a lot of people talk, give credit to Brett Favre about that, and I'm sure that it happened probably before then. But yeah, yeah. So for the most part, when we say RPO now, which everyone is using it loosely, they calling everything RPO.
Yeah,
it's play action, and commentators will still say RPO. But yeah, that run pass option it can be pre-snap, which is get the ball to side of the field where we have them outnumbered, or a leverage, or post snap. When I get the ball, I put the ball in the mesh. I read a second level or third level defender, and if they take a step in the direction of that run, I pull, throw behind that defender.
Okay, man, you just opened up a can of worms. The quarterback, man, I'm glad we got two quarterbacks here.
Defense always wrong. Defense always wrong.
What did y'all do as a quarterback for y'all to go up to the line and only you? I'm using the Brett Favre example. How did you, the quarterback, and that player knew he was going to run the slant? What did you say? Was there a hand gesture? Was it something in the communication? I mean, what are like some of the pre-game is, what is it? I mean, how did y'all know that? I mean, how did he know?
You want me to go? You go, Rick, bro. It's up to you.
You got it. I can fill it.
Okay.
It can be, I don't know how it is back in the day, but I know now with our system, it's built in. We get a certain look, you have to run this route. and regardless if it is RPO, it don't matter. Even in our past concept, we get a certain look. You have to. We are telling you this is what you are supposed to run. It's not a choice route where now no. This if you get this look, you are supposed to. So it can be alignment with the backers or alignment with the corner, alignment with the safety. It's based off of what we have been in our preparation for the game, and we put this in. Hey, if we see this, this is what you run. So it can be sometimes hand signals too, but I know now offenses now like we get a certain coverage, a certain look, whatever that play call was in that route tree, you were supposed to go to that. That's how we do it here. So it could, but like you said, it could be hand signals too.
So that could add to. I'm gonna just use Chase Claypool as an example. So that could add to how it's not simple for a receiver to come on a team. And I mean, because when you see a lot of stuff in social media, people kind of act like Claypool should have just came here. Should have been able. So it don't sound that simple.
The verbiage in the West Coast offense is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a protection call, you have a check with me, you have the play, you have a second play. So you asking this man to learn an offense in a matter of weeks. I was like, y'all being too hard on my bro, man. Like it's not easy. It's not easy.
I do have a question. Here's my question. You run a West Coast offense. There are so many different hybrid defenses where it's either all man or all zone. Say if you decide to go one half of the field man, one half of the field zone, and you send a guy in motion and the guy doesn't go. But on the side that your play is dedicated to, your X guy, whatever, is in the man side. How do you decipher? Like if a guy's not open, I mean, is the hot route that very important piece of all of it to kind of complete a pass, or how do you go about that?
Oof. We talk some stuff now, guy. That's I mean that's preparation right there. That's all. Excuse my dog. He's a little excited. But that's all preparation, and that. A lot of systems is just built in that way. I know we're going to get into more concepts a little later, but Chris, he just touched on it. Like when I see something, I know right away that what we're doing, what we're running over here, and they're just built in. I know for a long time, I would have one side of the field as a coverage beater, and the other side would be a different coverage beater, and it's on that quarterback, it's on that training, it's on that coaching throughout the week to say, hey, if I got man to the right, or if I got one high safety or two high safeties, immediately I'm going to this concept because this is the concept that will beat that coverage, and vice versa. So it can get so complex. Just tying in both the questions about Claypool and seeing defensive doing different things, it can get so complex. It's so complex. I'll say this for sure with full confidence. There's a reason a lot of people are not on the field on game day. We think it's just all athleticism. And who can run, who can jump and catch. It's so complex to get on that field.
See, you guys are the cerebral guys. You guys are quarterback. It's no disrespect to the defense or any other players. You guys have to be 100% right, because the thing is, the decisions that you guys make is predicated upon, one, what you see, what you have, and you have to also decipher what you're facing. I mean, when you're dealing with the defense, like you're 5'2", you might run through a 3-3-5 or whatever it is. That is what it is because everyone has an assignment. But on the other side of the ball, as a quarterback, your job is to find out where that seam is, where you can get a guy open. And if you are in a situation that unfortunately your X and your Z are not the fastest guys, they can sort of kind of get open, but not always. But if you got like a Randy Moss on one side and you got another 4-2 guy on the other side, he kind of makes all that interpretation a little bit different. a little bit, a little bit better. But I respect the heck out of quarterbacks, man, because I think people don't realize how intelligent you have to be, because it's not just about snapping a ball, catching an open receiver. You have to know what you're going against. You have to know the coverages that you're in. You have to know, like, say, if guys, like, say, call a blitz. Like, I've seen a situation with the Bears where they have one where they'll have the slot nickel sitting in place, and you thinking that he's sitting up there covering the field like he's going to blitz, and he'll fake blitz and run back in coverage. And if that guy's coming across from the right side, coming over to the left, now you got a guy on the top and the bottom, and your decision is like, okay, it's not necessarily about who's open. It's about who can I get the ball to. That's priceless, man. I could have been a quarterback, man. I just would find a position where I could just trip people all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, let's throw a little offensive language and terminology in there of some stuff that guy just said and some of the things y'all just said. It reminds me of the Super Bowl where Kansas, KC was taking, I believe it was the X. I'm going to use the X.
I did both X and a Z.
And a Z. And they start going in motion pre-snap. Okay. And then you could see the Philly defender corner. He started like him going across the field to try to make it look like he was playing man. And he was pointing to the safety. And the safety related to the other side to pick up. But that receiver was reversing field and running out to the flat. What I mean, is that like he doing something that he sees, or is that something where they already in the game plan that they've already? I mean, I know we ain't in a huddle, but what do you think is happening there?
Mouse in the house.
Yeah, I seen on Instagram, because I follow a lot of like coaches and stuff, and they be breaking stuff down. There's one guy, I wish I would have sent it to you if I had known you was gonna talk about this. Andy Reid saw some film. Jacksonville did that same thing to them, and they saw a little hole when they going, man, that corner was traveling. So he caught him, and that was just a self pick. That's just normal. That ain't no rub. You got picked by your own man. There's no way. You traveling like that in real speed, that's hard for a corner to do that. I don't care who you are. And they just got caught twice. They made no adjustment to that. I guess they didn't think that Reid was gonna go the other side with it. But yeah, that was just good. That was just good preparation, man. That's just good preparation.
Okay. Gentlemen, you know what? Me and B been talking about this for like the last 3 weeks, because we looked at them 2 times where your guy go in motion, he reversed the other way. I want to say, was it Travis Kelce, whatever it was? He did it first, and the other receiver. And it's like both of them were wide open. I'm like, if I'm a quarterback, I'm like, man, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. This is what I can ask for my contract, because all it was just to complete the pass. But from a defensive standpoint, I'm glad you said that, Bernard, because the first thing we talked about was when that guy got beat, the corner that traveled over and the guy went in motion, he turned around, he pointed back at his other guy. The other guy's covered the receiver. Man, that's a contract giver right there. That's like, you got to give me extra $2-3 million on my contract for that one.
Yeah. Okay. So, hey, I believe one of y'all mentioned earlier when y'all was explaining something, you mentioned screens. And just for simplicity, what are the different kind of screens? I mean, you hear the term bubble screen.
Yeah.
You hear like I guess it'd be almost like I'm not sure the word may be like a green ball screen,
like a trips left or trips right.
Correct. Where you have screens to receivers, you have screens to the running back. I mean, what are the different screens that you run, and why are you running the screen? I mean, is it something that you see in the defense, that I'm talking about to run the screen? Why would you run the screen? Because the Bears cannot run the screen. Now, they was a lot better this year. I didn't they couldn't run the screen at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of screens out there. You mentioned a bubble. You have like your tunnels, your slip screens where you get remember we talk about these offensive linemen, y'all. I cannot stress offensive linemen are so athletic these days.
Mhm.
I mean, our tackles, our guards, the way they can get out in open field and run is that has literally changed the game. So a lot of those screens are just getting those guys involved. But your purpose of going to a screen is defensive guys, professionals, they get paid too. Those guys are fast, they're strong, so they get off the ball. And to slow them down, you call a few screens. It don't have to be successful all the time. But your purpose of calling it is to slow those guys down, guys who are flying up the field to the quarterback, and just you want to keep that in the back of their mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I thank everybody who's tuned in tonight to Bad's Banner on YouTube and Facebook. We're talking about football 101, helping all us get our football knowledge up. Hey, did you want to add something to that, Christian?
Yeah, I would say at the high school level, I've been at it for 2 years now. I would say that the screen game is probably the most easiest run play that you can have. Because it doesn't have to be a perfect pass, but you can literally get 5 yards, or you 99 and out, depending on how good that guy is. If he's one of those guys and you get him the ball quick, that's an area in high school and even in the pro game. You really got your defenders now scared because that's open space. You get in, you trying to run like, inside zone, outside zone. Guys are now good enough to recover. That ball is gone like that on the screen game. He has to make just one move. That's an issue. So the screen game is very, very, very important. Like Ham said, that is another variation of an RPO. Because again, if you from definitely like Ham saying, like from shotgun, it might not even be the call. The call might just be a regular inside zone play, whatever it is. But like Ham said, if it is built in to where post snap, pre snap, and as soon as that ball is snapped, now you're in your post snap. And I see that we have an advantage, whatever side whatever how you're doing it, trips right, trips left, or double twins, whatever. If I have an advantage, we got a safety. How we tell our guys, if we got that linebacker, that's it. He is 6-7 yards off the ball. That is instant 5 yards. You hit that. If you don't, you're in trouble. I'll be the one yelling at you coming off the field because we don't play that. That is 5-6 yards that you can get literally. That you're dealing in high school, even in the pro game. You at 5 yards, 2nd and 5, you in good shape. Your whole playbook is open. You want that. So screen game is very important. Very important.
Hey, you know what? Can I kind of add something there too? I'll tell you, the guys who are married to the quarterback are the offensive linemen, because a lot of time as a pedestrian fan, you look at guys blocking on the line, they're like, oh, this, that, and the third. But then you start looking at some of the guys who are pro bowlers. You look at the one initial block that they make, and they'll have a guy and they may slam him over a little bit, and the guy is non-consequential to the play anymore. So instead of just standing there, he goes to the second level and gets another guy and creates a lot of seams. And I think that a lot of times when you have guys like, perfect case in point, Patrick Mahomes, we're not going to give any type of doubt to how great he is. But when you start with, I think a lot of time as pedestrian fans, they look at just kind of what they see and don't pay attention. And when you look in the trenches and actually see how intricate that is and the marriage that they have with the quarterback, a lot of offensive linemen make quarterbacks look like geniuses. Even if you're a great quarterback and you got a great offensive line, I don't see a defense beating you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I just put it as from a pedestrian standpoint, we sort of look at the offensive line as the initial block, but everything that happens subsequential to that and everything that goes, like, of course, I'm going to talk about my guy ad nauseum, Tevin Jenkins. I've seen him hit a guy, and I'll see a guy like, say, a quarterback comes back, he knocks the guy out of play. He either pancakes the guy, or when the guy is out to play, he goes immediately to the second level and say, this guy right here is not my guy, but he's a threat. I'm going to knock him out and create a path for someone else and a receiver. That's just me.
Hey, thanks, guy. Hey, I just want to go to one thing that you just said, Christian, then we're going to move on to match concepts. So you mentioned about the guys playing far off the receiver. So let's move into pre-read situations, right? So what we looking at is a technique, right? We're looking at a technique that this maybe the D-back may be using, right? What if if the guy is telling you he using a trail technique? I mean, you want to explain trail technique? Let's say the D-back is using a trail technique, right? He playing far off, but he knows it's some deep routes because maybe they need a lot of yardage, but he's kind of playing a trail technique. I mean, what kind of route would you run if he's playing like a trail technique?
Yeah, So film tells everything we need to know. What happens is, spectators, and I love watching football too, and I can get caught up in, I'm a diehard Bears fan. Now, why he didn't do this? Why he didn't do that? Why did they do that? Film tells you what you're doing during the week. Those guys don't show up on Sundays and play that game. So now to your question, if I see someone doing something that they've been telling me that stands true for who they are, I know what I'm getting. And if whatever coverage that may be, if that corner is 5 yards, 7 yards in press jam, whatever film has showed me that this defender is going to do, I'm going to rely on my film study and what these guys have done for just who they are. And I'll go back to that the Super Bowl plays for at this point Andy Reid is arguably one of the best coaches to ever do it. He has 17 plus games on this team. 17 plus games. If you're doing something for 17 weeks, that's who you are.
That's who you are. Right?
You're not going to change up. And high school, a lot of we get into these big games and we try to change things up. No, if you've done something for 17 plus weeks, that's who you are. And it's and that's offensively, defensively. Offensively, we hang our hat on that. If I see a certain guy playing 5 yards and I see another guy moving a certain way, my film tells me that. My film study tells me that they're doing this.
Right.
So I will always just revert back to what is my training, what is my film study tells me that I see on game day.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm assuming if he's playing a trail technique, I'm like not defensive player, I'm offensive player. I'm assuming he's trying to take away a fade route or some type of comeback route. I'm assuming that's why he's trailing, because he think you're gonna throw something that's had a receiver coming back to the quarterback. Do that make sense of that?
Yeah.
I know they have different techniques they're trying to use. What you got, Cristen?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, bro.
And typically when they trail, it's it can get more complicated than that. So if I know that this guy is playing underneath me, trailing me, he has someone on top of me. So we still have to take that into consideration. So if that corner is saying, "Hey, I want to take this away," he's trusting that the safety is over top.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know this. I know this is not the question, but I want to give more content into it.
Oh yeah, go
ahead. When Nagy was the head coach, I remember Big Bro Hamp was he was talking about his game planning, and he was talking about his setting up plays. It's an art to calling plays, and it's an art to putting in an offense too. You can be a good play caller and a terrible and like teaching the offense, installing it. So that shows Andy Reid, when you talk about trailing, he probably set that up to where he knew at some point if he kept running a variation of some form of a pass concept to where they might have thought that they could play man, and he set them up that way or set them up in the zone to where that happens. So if you good at what you do, you know what I'm saying, you can get guys, you can get a defense to like kind of get suckered into something where you've been waiting to call a specific
Thank you.
play
Yeah.
for that whole week. So that I just wanted to throw that in because, like, when you talk about trail, like, there are things that you can do to get guys to get into a zone. So now you can start eating that up because you might not be a good team to, like, where you got good man beaters. There are teams out here in the NFL that don't have good man beaters, but they're really, really good in zone. So it's certain things that, when you start you get around guys and you start, listening to guys who are in football and they start talking about stuff and they put you on game with stuff, you'd be like, dang, I did not know this. So that's all I wanted to say about that. So I'm pretty sure he had something in mind to get them caught because he caught them twice now. Let's think about it. It wasn't once. He caught them twice.
Yeah.
And both plays looked the same. It
Yep.
wasn't nothing that he changed in that. So he set them up pretty good with that one.
Okay. So hey, now let's move over here to we into a pre-snap read. We got our personnel set. Let me throw something simple. You it's a short yardage situation. You have a fullback in the game, and you have a halfback, and let's say we got 2 tight ends. What's that personnel set called? We got 2 backs. Why is that? Is that 22?
Yep.
Okay.
2 backs and 2 tight ends. Well, that's the. Here we go. This can.
I know it can get more complicated.
Yeah, it can get so complicated.
It can.
In our traditional numbering of personnel, it is 22. Some people call it. It could be, it can be so many things now. Just personnel. But for the most part, that traditionally, the numbering system for personnel, it goes. The first back is your number of backs, and the second number is your number of tight ends. So for 2 backs and 2 tight ends, it will be 22 personnel.
Okay.
2 backs and 1 tight end, it will be 21 personnel.
Okay. So since it looked like it's a run play, let's say, for example, the defense end up being in a cover 1. Okay. I mean, is there any pre-read stuff that you may do to get out of that run, right? If you see something, the matchup that you like with that receiver, how do you get out of that run play? But keep them in the cover 1 though. I mean, you want to keep them in that cover 1 because you're gonna have that matchup. You what do you do to disguise it to make them feel like you're still gonna run that same play?
Yeah, I think that comes down to just who you are and what you want to do. If I see, it comes down to scenarios in the game. What's going on? Is it 3rd and 1? Some people just do not allow their quarterbacks to check anything in a certain scenario of the game. Short yardage. You got to stick with that play. And again, here we go on TV and we yelling and we cussing them out. But sometimes
talk about it, bro.
Some teams and programs are saying like, "Hey, I don't care what's going on. You do not change this. Don't change the look. Don't change the play. Don't you move anyone." And that's hard. That is so hard. So hard.
Okay.
Does it also depend on the personnel too? Like, for example, you're in a cover 1, but your other coverage guys, say your 2 defensive backs are like 4-5, 4-6 guys, and the receivers they're covering aren't fast. A lot of times, if you're in like a short yardage situation, I would assume that if they're scared, they put guys back in coverage, but it don't matter if the receivers are faster and can beat these guys. I've seen so many cover 1s, man, where you've got that guy who's out there by himself and he'll mask it as a cover 1 and jump back in like a cover 3 or a cover 2. But the guys that are jumping back ain't faster than the receivers. Now it's mouse in the house.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you said that because I was thinking earlier today I want to do something with playing some like defensive players because a lot of times when we talk about defense, I'm straying away a little bit, but it fits in what we talk about. We talk about the coverages, but we don't talk about the coverages that the corners may actually be playing within that coverage, right? Well, what kind of coverage are they playing, right? Are they doing a press coverage, right? It's different coverages that D-back could actually be playing in that coverage itself, as well as using certain techniques. But I would really like to get into that. Hey, let's move to a mesh passing concept. I mean, what is that? I mean, I've been hearing that mesh passing concept. What's that, D-Hamp?
Yep. So your mesh, it's a concept that we talk. I don't know if we was on air or off air, but it originated in the air raid system. Air raid,
yes, sir.
or what a system that's been around, and it's simply two receivers driving or crossing or meshing across the field. Now, it can get a little complicated than just running across the field, but this concept is ran on every level of football, from grade school to the NFL. This is most people run it as a man-to-man beater. You see it a lot in the goal line to get that that rub route that we talked about earlier. But it can get a little complicated than that. It's different rules within the mesh. If it's zone, receivers sit down. But mesh is just simply two receivers on opposite ends of a formation crossing each other at about 3 to about 5 yards and creating a rub to get a defender off. Now, I will say, as a quarterback, this is a very short pass. However, this is a very, very difficult pass to complete.
It
looks
is.
so
Talk
easy.
about it, bro.
This is a very hard pass to complete.
It is.
We're talking about receivers running full speed across the field most of the time. If they're playing man, receivers are trying to run away from the defender, and you're just trying. You have to throw an accurate pass. If you don't throw an accurate pass, you're going to put that receiver in danger, getting them killed, or it's going to be an incomplete pass.
Yeah. Okay, man. You know what? This year, I saw this one. I can't remember which team it was. It was Chicagobears, and I don't know if this was a mesh concept or not. But there was a play on the goal line, and looked like the receivers running the crossing route, and that gap, that window open. But I know early in the season, I was complaining about Justin Fields' throwing motion was so slow. So by the time he threw it, he actually hit the back of his lineman's head. And the ball bounced up, and I want to say it ended up being picked on the goal line. It was more so, but I was thinking about what you're saying. That was a difficult throw he was trying to make. Y'all remember that play?
Yeah, I remember. Was it with who was that against? I do remember that happening because he hit the back of the tackle's head.
Yeah,
and the ball went straight up like crazy. Yeah, I remember that. And like Ham said, it's very difficult. So what makes it difficult is it's either you can be too quick or you can be too slow. But the thing is, you have to be patient with it, because if you're in a man, if you get them caught in man, it's a natural rub, like Big Bro said. So you have to wait until that clears, because a lot of times there's so much jump of where they do the natural rub at. You want to make sure you want to get it to them to where you get it to them in the flats. The difficult part is if you get caught in zone, now you have to read it now. Okay, you stretching one of the linebackers. You stretching you putting stress, like literally stress on him, because he sees somebody in front of him. But if he's good and he's keeping his integrity and his mental right, he can still keep his integrity of hook curl, or if they're in cover 3, the flat. So if you mess up and they in cover 3 and you throw that thing out too flat, that's getting picked off like crazy. That's going to the house. So like you have to be. It's like you got to really be in the middle, like that Big Bro said. Like it's not an easy throw. It's really not. Like I don't think people like understand. You see it on like you play Madden. it's because you got all day to throw. But like in a real game situation, nah, it's not that easy. Like you really have to literally, because your eyes typically like reading quarterback. For me, I don't like my eyes going left to right or right to left. I like to keep my eyes focused. Either I'm reading the linebacker or I'm reading that safety. To like, what I mean left to right is like I'm literally like watching this receiver, both receivers, and they're now following my eyes. Where it's normally like you look in here, you look in there, you look in there. But when you run in a mesh, like your eyes are literally doing that. That's dangerous in any situation because that ball can get picked if you're wrong. So, and you talk about coverages. Sometimes you can be in zone one side and man on the other side. So if you didn't do your homework or if you missed your keys in post snap or pre snap and you wrong, yeah, you in some trouble, bro. You got somebody killed. So,
hey, what is a rub route? I heard y'all use rub a few times. What's a rub route?
We see Green Bay Packers do this on us all the time, and they've been doing it for years. And it's in basketball, it's like running a screen. You know, it's just like playing basketball. Point guard got the ball, and a bigger guy come and set a screen. That's all it is. It is illegal to intentionally screen someone in football. However, if they are running a route and the receiver is looking as though he's running a route, it's legal and it's not offensive pass interference. Travis Kelce is the best at doing this. Travis Kelce doesn't get enough credit when it comes to getting other guys open, but Travis Kelce he's the best at doing this.
Okay. So I guess it's kind of like you're kind of rubbing, I guess you're running around that kind of rub that defender out of the way without touching them, right?
Yeah, but it's natural. It's natural in a mesh because you got guys running this way, so you got that defender. You literally hitting that defender. It's not on purpose. It's natural because you have just as much right to that space as that defender. In other situations, it's like kind of different. So when you run mesh, it's all legal. Like you, as a receiver, you can, like he said, talking about Travis Kelce, I can have the intention that I'm not really trying to catch this ball. I can blow you up, and it's legal. It's legal because I have the right to do that. So like Big Bro was saying, like it's natural. In any other concept, that's where you see a lot of flags called because it's not the natural rub. Like I give you a concept like a snag concept where it's kind of, I don't know how to call it. It's almost like a hitch, but it's not a hitch. It's like a slant, and you sit it down. That's the best way that I can. And in that, sometimes you have like that slot guy. He could be running a wheel right, or he could be running an out route over it, depending on how that snap can be anything. But if you don't like that first wide receiver, whoever running that snag, if he does not do that right, they can call a legal pick on him. Especially if he's too early.
Man, I'm gonna have to have a chalkboard, man, with y'all get these concepts so people can visualize it. But
when it's being coached, the coach literally tells the receiver, "Hey, run to that outside shoulder of that defender, whether it's a safety or linebacker. Run to his shoulder." And he has to make the decision whether to run through you or around you. Either way, he's creating that natural rub, natural pick route.
Now I'm thinking about a team that I'm assuming this is what they was run. They run a lot too. Was the Patriots with Edelman, and when they had Wells Walker, because I swear those two little guys, man, they were open.
Crazy.
Let's not forget Miami. This Miami team. They run a lot of that too. Because Tua he's perfect for that because he's not the most accurate. He's accurate, but he's not. If you put him in like a man situation, he's not that accurate. You want to put Tua in a situation to where he playing man. Because then you'll see like, he has some limitations. but he's perfect for like the mesh route and stuff like
Okay,
doing
because I
rub
know
routes and
Tua
stuff.
throws a lot
Yeah.
between
Mm-hmm.
in between the lines. He doesn't. I notice he doesn't throw a lot outside the lines passes. He throw a lot of stuff right into two. I guess hash marks. I was looking for the word.
Mhm.
He throw a lot of passes in the hash between the hash marks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, hey, okay. Y'all mentioned the rub route, and I'm just listening to the concept. So, do you have drag routes in there too? Because it sounds like you're saying it's a point where the two receivers cross each other. That's like a mesh point or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It's almost the best way to explain. That's pretty much what it is just two drags, but it start off like as a circle instead of you coming up and going like that. It's like a circle, like y'all crossing each other. So one probably like I don't know. Hamp probably run it differently, but I know here like we run ours 6, and then we have the other one like about 8, 9 back, 10 back to 9, kind of sort of. So you have that little space because you don't want it like space that big because now you can have 2 defenders. You got one defender playing 2 receivers at one point, and you don't want that. So you kind of like you have to have like it has to be your spacing has to be perfect to run it. And you gotta have like Ham said, you gotta have like a smart quarterback and a willing quarterback to be patient to run it because it's not an easy throw.
Hey, Cristen, we got to bring Jay back on here, man. I listening to you, and I thought about this earlier, and when you just are describing the route and how emotional Jay get about route running, man,
Crispy.
you be thinking Jay is in the waiting room with his wife about to have a baby, man. He get Jay. But you know what, Cristen, that does make sense, man, because if you're running concepts like that, man, a guy that's running his route wrong or not crisp, that seems like that'd mess up the whole thing.
It does.
Because
it does.
If it's supposed to be, I mean, because you see these quarterbacks all the time doing gestures to maybe if he threw an incompletion, and he's kind of like trying to tell the receiver how he was supposed to run the route.
Like bro said with Travis Kelce, he runs it perfectly because the way he runs it doesn't change regardless if they're a man in zone. So you want to stress the defense. Every time you run a route, you want to stress the defense. You have to as a receiver. Because if you just out there just running around sloppy, you messing up the whole play, honestly. Like the whole play. So like a lot of times when people were getting on Justin Fields last year, some of it was his fault. Some of it was just his game, and some of it was just bad route running. Like it was just bad route running. And when you run certain concepts, you have to run your route crisp. You have to be like 99%. I know like there's no such thing, but you got to be close to it though. Like literally, because this mesh concept, like bro said, like just thinking about it, the couple of times that I didn't run it that much, with the couple of times that we did, I never liked it. In high school with Coach Yates, he used to call it the scissors route, and I never liked it. Never liked it. He had like a rail concept with it where he had the slot receivers running wheel routes on the outside, and he had crossing each other. I never liked it because I always felt uncomfortable throwing that ball into the flat like that. It just never felt comfortable to me. And sometimes it can be open in the middle right before that linebacker. That could be a kill shot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to have the guts and one and the willing to do it. But wide receiver wise, if you run that thing sloppy or you run it slow or you run it too much of a circle, that's a no-go. Because now I can't throw that ball. So at that point, I'm either taking the sack or I'm looking at check down. And at that point, check down in that type of concept, a mesh concept, you don't really want to do that.
Okay. Hey, if you're watching the program tonight, please hit the subscribe button. Man, we're talking to D Hamp and Christian Jones and Guy, one of the co-hosts on the show. We're talking about football 101. We're talking about offensive terminology, passing concepts, read zones. We're talking about RPOs. man, we got to do another passing concept for sure as we wrap up this. I mean, Cristen just threw out what did he say? Scissors. He said scissors.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it meant.
Yeah, man, he threw out scissors concept, man. We got Mills concepts. We got a mesh concept. We got stick concepts. Man, there's so many passing concepts, man. Last year, I used to wonder what the heck was Maggie running in his route combinations. Sometimes they didn't even make sense.
Hey, you know what? Can I say it as a newbie? I need you guys, as far as you QB1s, to help me with this because never been a quarterback. I study a lot of film. I study a lot of things. And something that I learned, the cerebral part of football, is this. If I'm a quarterback and my guy's running crispy routes, you can have a 6'10", 6'11" guy in front of me with his hands up. If I throw it, I know exactly where he's going to be. When I let it go, if there's no defender there, it's going to land in his hands. I always thought that a quarterback and any receiver, be it a running back, tight end, or a wide receiver, there was a marriage. To whereas if you're running crispy routes, irrelevant as to the pressure, sometimes you're pressured to whereas you can't even see your receiver. But if we're practicing this and I throw this a certain way every time, it's going to hit you every time. That's what I always learned. And another thing too, like just like Cristen said about, there were some things on Justin, there were other things that weren't. Dan Orlovsky was talking about Justin Fields. They were like, oh, this guy can't read defenses. They were like, he's seen every exotic defense there was at Ohio State. The difference being, as I tried to explain to a guy, I said, you got to understand, let's not talk about an Ohio State situation. Imagine your pro team. The worst pro team, the guy that's not playing, it was probably the cornerback one on a ranked Division I team. So now what you're looking at, it's not that he doesn't understand it, it's the speed of the game. So the guys that are out there, the 11 guys that are on defense, these are 11 dogs. So the stuff that you were like kind of able to be cute with in college, you can't do that in the NFL because it's a pick six.
Yeah. I want to piggyback off of that, and Hamp can back me up. Once you really get into understanding coverages and routes, at some point, even though it is a cover 3, cover 2 zone, palms, cover 6, you can have zone on one side, man on the other side. At some point, everything does turn into man.
Yeah.
So if you run your route correctly as a quarterback, you could be wrong in throwing that ball to that side. You could have missed the read. At some point, you got a good wide receiver. If he beats that man that's in that area, it still turns into man. I know that sounds crazy. Y'all like, what is he talking about? But no, seriously. But seriously, though, like each coverage, at some point, it turns into man. So if you got a good wide receiver who runs his route the right way as a quarterback, you should have that confidence. If I'm wrong, he can make that play. So, and last point, you think about how many times Dante Culpepper threw dumb down routes to Randy Moss and all kinds of coverages. You got to explain how like every route turns into man at some point. That's all
like a Cooper Kupp. Like Cooper Kupp. A lot of people look at this guy. How's he getting open? How's he doing? The guy's routes are crispy as all get-go. And he makes, and a guy who basically is a study hound as far as his craft makes it so much easier for a quarterback because he gives a quarterback a larger margin of error because he knows that within a vicinity or a back, like say receiver may not have 4.3 speed, but the guy's dependable. And you look at a lot of these guys who fall into the 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 thing, and you're like, that dude's slow. How does he get open? Because the dude is crispy, and the same thing that he does it all the time. It doesn't deviate. And a lot of times you have a quarterback on the run, running for his life, and he let that thing go. And the one thing that he knows, I'm about to get dropped, but my guy about to catch it. And that's why you get a guy like Cooper Kupp that gets like thousands plus yards a year.
Okay. Go ahead, bro.
Oh yeah, hey, Hamp and Cristen, is there anything y'all want to hit real quick before we close out for the night? Because we man, you know what? It probably won't just be a part 2. It's probably gonna be a part 3, to be honest.
It needs to be.
But I'm gonna try to make sure I have some diagrams. You know, we may not have a chalkboard, but I'm make sure I have some diagrams and stuff like that, so people can have some visuals on this. What y'all have? Anything before we close?
I think this is a good segue to closing. I mean, we can talk about X's and O's and how complicated things can be, but I think what we just talked about is having them dudes, them dogs, them Jimmys and Joes, and about the X's and O's. I know if I have a guy, I don't care the coverage, I don't care what coach told me to read. I know that I have to get this dude the ball, and that's. You know, and that's I've grown in that area of coaching because I was coached a certain way that, hey, read and put the ball. I remember in college, I threw a touchdown pass and got cursed out when I came to the sideline. Got cursed out again when we watched film, and it was a touchdown pass because I made the wrong read. I'm not that guy. I've learned that, hey, we got dudes on this field. You get them dudes the ball.
I'm gonna say this. As referring to Justin Fields, learning. I played the position, but coaching and now seeing it from a different perspective. There are guys who have like games. Like Hamp was just an amazing deep ball thrower. I could never throw a deep ball like him, and the similarity of what I'm saying is Ben Roethlisberger and Justin Fields' game is almost similar. Justin Fields held the ball. He held the ball in college a lot. It wasn't. It was a little bit of the system, but that's his game. He likes to take deep shots, and he's an amazing deep ball thrower. And he likes to hold it on. And a lot of people be like, he holds the ball too long. If you study him and you start comparing him to other quarterbacks and the success that they've had, you will realize that that's just that man's game. It ain't that he's doing it because he don't know what he reading. He's doing it for a purpose.
You know, I'm glad you said that because I had like a conversation similar on Facebook today. I'm only going to take the one part out what you mentioned, and it was about the Steelers because I don't want to make it personal about the player. And it was about anyway on this. The guy made this comment about how the Steelers pass protection improved so much this year. And I said, well, part of it improved because Ben Roethlisberger actually held the ball a long time.
Yep.
I said, so I said, I don't have the stats. I said, he probably was the most sacked quarterback in NFL history. If not, he's top on that list because that's part of his game.
That was his game, though. That was his game.
Look at last year, in the last 2 or 3 years, the problem was his arm was starting to fade. So he might have wanted to throw those deep balls. They wasn't getting there no more.
When you have an arm like they have, I don't think people realize how good Ben and how good Justin's arm is. I've seen this man throw a rope 50 yards, like it was a rope. 50 yards. I would love to see him like literally just sling it. So if you know that you can make that throw, and I can just hold it just a little bit longer, I would do the same thing. I would do. I literally would. And like I said, I could never play like him. Hamp had a beautiful deep ball. I could never throw a deep. Like he was accurate throwing any kind of deep ball. I couldn't do it.
Right.
I struck. I couldn't do. You know what I'm saying? So some people be like, "Oh, he holds the ball." He does hold the ball, and some of it he misses. But you gotta let that man play his game. That's his game. Right. That's what he do. I studied every. Went and studied every game from college into the pro. And every good ball that Justin has thrown was a deep ball. Let that man play his game. That's all I got to say.
I couldn't agree with you more, man, because you know what? I think the problem is, as the pedestrian fan, we try to pump our quarterbacks up to be something that they're not. And the unfortunate part, like, say, 2 quarterbacks I can think of in history, Joe Montana and Brian Sipe. These dudes had popcorn arms, but they was money inside of 30 yards. Why would you get a guy like that to try to throw 50, 60-yard bombs? Within his capacity, he's straining, but within the structure of an offense and the structure of what he could do, he was great at what he was at. I think a lot of times as fans, oh, you should have caught that dude. That dude was wide open. What if he can't throw it? But if you keep doing the same thing that you do over and over again that you're good at, I'm telling you, if you just do the due diligence, you're going to be successful. Unfortunately, a lot of times as fans, we try to take our quarterbacks and like, okay, dude can't throw like a 50-yard rope. But you want him to throw a 50-yard rope and you get mad. But then when he tries to throw a 50-yard rope, he throws an interception. And now you're mad. But the truth of the matter is, give me a guy that's consistent. Like I say, Roethlisberger is going to hold on to the ball long. He was actually timed in either history or the number of years he played. He held on to the ball longer.
Yeah.
But look at the results. This dude's about to get a yellow jacket.
Yeah.
Yep. It's very similar. If y'all go watch the film, y'all will see they're like very similar. It's not that I'm telling you, it's not that neither one of them could. It's different with the Brett Favre.
Right.
Y'all can watch. Brett Favre was just out there. He was just throwing the thing.
He was more of a gambler.
he was just throwing that thing. But Ben and Justin, they know what they're watching. Their eyes be at the right place.
Okay.
It's when you hold the ball like that for a long time, you on a mission. Like you trying to get it in the end zone. Like seriously.
Okay. Hey, man, I appreciate our guest on tonight, man. Man, I'm pumped, man. I don't know about y'all who watching. I'm pumped, man. I could talk football all night, but I know I want to keep y'all all night. So we're gonna do a part 2. And if it go the way I think, we may end up doing a part 3. We're gonna probably try to get this in before we get to the draft.
Okay,
Jay gonna do a draft show, and I'm putting pressure on my other little brother, Egg Armstrong, to come up in here and do that draft show for us. But anyway, until next time, peace.